Hi everyone, this is Jay Johnson with DailyTexture.com. In the Digital Studio video, I'm really excited to work with this image which I captured yesterday of this little raccoon. I already know what the title is going to be, and so I thought I would just take you guys along on this journey on what I decide to do with this little guy. So let me get rid of this layer. Alright, I have already adjusted the image. I've cropped him the way I wanted him. I've ran Topaz Clarity on him, and I've also ran Topaz Impression to tone down some of the noise because it was in very low light since it was raining yesterday and really cloudy out. So I needed to tone down that noise level. I've got several textures open here. I don't know which one I'm going to use, or I may use a combination of several. My thinking here is there's a lot of pattern in the tree and there's a pattern in the raccoon, and I don't want to use a background or a texture that's too busy to take away from the pattern of what's already here. So I don't want something too busy back here. So I've got several open. This one on hang on, this one on top right here is from the marble collection, the dyed marble collection. They're very simple, very subtle backgrounds. With the gray in the raccoon and the gray in the tree, I thought this one may work. So I'm going to leave that one open, and I'm going to mask away his background here and see how this one's going to work. So I'm going to go to my masking tab in Topaz Photo FX Lab and get a fairly large brush and just start masking away this background here to get closer into him. Smaller brush. A little smaller. Go right around the top of his head. All the way down here. Get rid of that piece of grass. Get a really small brush. Get in here. It looks pretty nice with that gray. I'm going to lower the opacity, the flow, and come down here and get rid of some of this. I don't want to get rid of it all totally because I think it's important. I do just want to tone this down a little. Down here on the bottom. Around this corner right here. Even go over him just a little bit, and I'll bring back some of that. Alright, now let me bring back some of this tail. His tail's important. And bring back some of this. And go back the other way. Now what I'm seeing here, he's got some warm tones in his tail and in the grass here, and this background is real cool, which looks good with him up here, but down here where it's warmer, I'm having a little conflict with that. I'm going to brush over his fur just a little bit right here and tie this in a little more with the background. Tone down some of that white because the light was hitting him on top, so you have pretty bright highlights there. And I'm going to go back over the tail a little bit more. The tail's real important. Maybe go with a bigger brush and sort of bring some of that back. Okay, so I'm seeing a real warm tone down here, a cooler tone up here. I really like the way this background looks with him. Not quite sure about this. So I'm going to play around with some other textures that I have open. I'm going to turn this one off and turn this texture on and see how that looks. I'm just going to turn the different ones on. Now I like this one. This is from the Monthly Mix collection. It's got the long grass pieces and it's got some warm tones. I like that, but it's too warm for him up here. And this one's from the new Mesmerize collection. It's a little busy. It's got some nice lighting coming in though, so I may be able to utilize that. I really like the gray, but I'm thinking of mixing some of these others with it. Let me pull this one from the Monthly Mix up on top. Turn it on and set it to a different layer mode. And see what I can come up with. That's soft light. And that kind of warms everything up a little bit. Maybe too much. But what I can do is reduce the saturation of it. I'm just adjusting it. I really like the way it's putting the grass pieces back here. I think it's got a little bit too much texture on his face. What I may do is mask some of this off of him and the tree at a low opacity and see what that looks like. So I really like the little grass pieces here. You see my little mask? I'm working at a low opacity, so it's just a light gray mask. Now I may come at the very top and just mask some of that away, revealing some of that marble gray texture, but leaving the bottom with the grass pieces. Now let me change the layer mode again. Now there's Multiply, and that looks very nice to me because it's bringing some darkness down here and keeping some light on his face, which is where I've masked it away. So this was before adding this one on top, and this is after. And I think it might kind of, it might kind of, usually you see raccoons at night, and with this darkness here, I really like this because it's a little bright down here without this added on top. Adjust the opacity a little bit. I like it at 100%, but on the top, I may mask some more of this away, bringing in a little bit more light right here. Just gives it a little drama, more of a dramatic look. Now, this one from the Mesmerized collection caught my attention because of the light, so I'm going to put this one on top. See this nice light here? I don't know if this will work at all to do anything. It has some color tones from the old masters paintings. I'm going to set it on overlay, size it up, and bring this light over to him. See how I play with light? I think it has a little too much texture in it. But that can, excuse me, that can be solved. I'm not sure if I like the light over here or if I like what this is doing by shifting the light to the left. I wonder if I mask some of this off, what that would look like. Putting a little too dark down there. Mask some of that off. Now, turn it off, on. I think I like how it's darkening right here. And mask a little more of it off right here. I like the way that has shifted the light. I think it has a little too much texture in it. In this particular one with from the Mesmerized collection, because they are pretty heavy in the texture, I have a filter and lens effects that will take care of that, though. So I'm going to run that. See how much texture that has in it? And of course it shows you the original, not what you're doing. The filter and lens effects is called diffusion. And there's generous, high. High is actually best on this. But see how that diffusion softens that texture but keeps the tones and color? I'm going to click OK and accept that. And let me blow this up. So now I'm going to click undo. I'm trying to see if it made that much of a difference. Some of this texture is coming from the grass layer, which is right here. And I can do the same thing on that. I can run a diffusion on that. And see it, because I'm seeing some texture right here that I'm not real thrilled with right here. So let me run a diffusion on that. See if that settles that down a little bit. Now let me blow it back up. And undo it. And then redo it. Yeah, that settled that down quite a bit, but it still leaves a hint of those grass pieces in there. Might like a little more grass pieces in here that I could add in. I'm not sure though. This looks a little dark right here. I'm going to duplicate that layer and set it to... No, I don't like that. I'm going to forget that. Where are the grass pieces? They are in... Oh, let me find them. My files are a mess. Wildlife Masterpieces 2 has the grass pieces. Let's take, now these have the Wildlife Masterpieces 2 has grass backgrounds, but it also has grass pieces as an overlay, which are PNG files. So that's a gray. Take that back off and find a different one. How about a dark brown? Let's go back. Let's go back to the gray. Oh no, this looks a little bright. I'm going to resize this up, and I'm going to lower the exposure on those grass pieces. Don't know if this is going to work. And then lower the opacity. Maybe move the grass pieces around. Lower the opacity a little more. Down to about 20. I like it what it's done right here, but I don't like what it's done over here. So let me mask that away. So there's just a hint. You can barely see it right there. Bring the, see if I raise the opacity all the way up, you can really see it, but that's too much. So if you put it down around 20, it just gives a little hint. And if you duplicate it, it'll give a little bit more. Duplicate it a couple times. That may be too much. Let's raise it to 30. If you raise the exposure, it really brightens it up. You lower the exposure, it darkens it. I'm not sure. That may be a little distracting to me. I'm going to take that back off. Let me see what else I can come up with. Wildlife Masterpieces 3 has some interesting little speckles in here. Let me take one that's kind of warm in tone. See the little speckles here? Let's see what those will do. If I raise the size of that up, move this over. I'm just looking for something to put in this area that may look right. Just give it a little more interest. That's soft light. I don't want to cover his tail though. Okay, forget that. What I may do is go back to his layer and bring back some of the original grass right there. So we'll go back this way on the mask, real big brush, low opacity, and just tap in here because that's a little dark. There we go. That's a little better. Yes, that brought back some of his original grass, so I didn't have to add any grass. Now I'm thinking, I really like the way this is looking. I think at this point I'm going to merge all of this. Okay, everything's merged. Now I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to decide where I want to go from here. If I want to put any more lighting on him, if I want to run Topaz Impression again on him, let's try that. Just to give him a little more painterly look. I'm going to go down to my favorite oil glaze preset. I did a video on this recently. It's on the blog, Oil Glaze Light Original Color. See how that just kind of softens everything a little bit, makes it look more painterly. I like that. I have one called Oil Glaze Autumn, which has more of the orange tones. Oil Glaze Autumn Yellow, Oil Glaze Light, and my original Oil Glaze Light that I use, which warms everything up. But I like the original color. I'm going to accept that one. Oil Glaze Light Original Color. That may have softened everything a little too much and taken away some detail of his fur. I'm going to use clarity on that impression layer and see if I can bring some of that back. See how that might look. It does bring some of it back. But I like how it did in the back. What I'm going to do, cancel out of that, I'm going to duplicate the impression layer. And I'm going to run clarity on the duplicate. Fur and Feathers. One of my favorite ones. Okay. I'm going to accept that. I'm going to do one of my favorite things to do, which is invert the mask and basically take everything I just did away, and then I'm going to put it back on where I want it. Alright, invert. Now it took it away. So I have the brush value all the way to the right, which is going to put it back on. I have the flow down really low. And go with a smaller brush size, and I'm just going to bring some of this back, the clarity adjustment back on him, to really focus on these little pieces of fur, his tail, his little foot, his little ears. Isn't he cute? See my little mask? I'm bringing it back. on him and some of the tree. Because this is where I want the focus. So this is where I want the sharpest part of the image. But I like the original adjustment in the background and down here, how it's kind of soft with the impression effect. And you can see my little mask is shaped like him and the tree. So this is before the clarity adjustment brushed back on, and this is after. It just boosted him up a little bit. Okay, I like that. Merge all of that. See, now it looks like he's out at night, which is when you would normally see these. I was really shocked to see him during the day. This is probably the best picture of a raccoon I've gotten, because I don't see him during the day. I always see him after dark. But this was a young one, and I think he was just kind of out exploring. And he was kind of scared of me. He ran up the tree right after this, and I got some shots of him up in the tree. But this was the cutest, the way he just hugged on that tree. All right, I like this. I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to go to Lens Effects and see if I want to do any lighting adjustments. Graduated neutral density will darken parts of the image. I have a reflector which will brighten things, and I can pick where I want it bright. I don't think I want to use the gold reflector because that would put too much warmth back in there. But the silver one just kind of brightens up that side over there because the light, I've adjusted the lighting to where it's coming in from this way. So that's before, and that's after the silver. Left under reflector. If I put it on the right, it's going to brighten up the right side. Too much, which is taking away from what I've done with the light. I could put it on the top, or I could do a combination of both, or 2 or 3 of these. I'm going to try it on the left, silver left, and I'm going to click OK. See how that looks once I get back here. Well, that looks kind of nice. Turn it off, back on a couple times. I like that. Of the silver light adjustment on the left, it just brightened up that side a little bit more. So I'm going to merge this. I do a lot of merging. That way I can go back to one I've already merged if I decide I don't like it. But I really like this right now. This may be done. Now I'm going to bring back the very first original photo. So you can see this was before anything was done, or I might have done a clarity adjustment on him, but you see how noisy it was and all that. So that's the original photo, or a crop of the original photo, because I cropped in a little tighter, and that's the art. Oh yeah, I really like that. Definitely. And blow this up a little so I can see around his. Isn't he cute? He's adorable. Yep, I like that. I'm going with that. So I'm going to call this one done. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this and seeing how I think about the lighting and texture, actual texture of the texture. I didn't want to go with anything too busy. I wanted something kind of subtle over here that tied in with him more, because this was cute, but it looks like a photograph, and I wanted it to look like art, and this looks more artistic. So I'm going to call this one done. Anyway, once again, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day.